Charles, tonight, broadcasting from Mars. Not me, somebody else. How you doing,
So you
Charles?
you rescued the NASA astronauts at the International Space Station, and then you blasted off to Mars in your light speed or whatever it is ship there. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, got an office
Not
on
bad.
Mars. Yeah,
Well,
you
well
thought
done.
you thought Penang was cool. Welcome to Mars.
Put
No,
put me down for a continent. I'll take one continent. One
you
continent
got
for
it.
$1. Thank you.
Well, but,
Thank you.
Charles, obviously I'm not on Mars, but through the magic of visual effects, we can be transported there. The thing that's so interesting is, we've been hearing all about Trump's use of this, what is it, Alien Enemies
Sedition
Deportation
Act,
Act
yeah.
or whatever. And then we had this alien enemy. It was like the movie Mars Attacks. When they said alien enemies, it immediately caused me to think of that movie. I've just realized that this is a big Masonic logo right here in the middle of this movie poster. But anyway, Charles, there's a ton of stuff going on. You're back in the Charles Ortel International Presidential Library there, looking sharp as ever. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm ultra dark maggot today, except for my
That's good.
Lombok hat signaling where I'll be in 3 weeks or 2 weeks actually. But
Make Malaysia great again.
exactly. Actually, there are rumors in the press here that Trump's coming to Malaysia at the end of the year.
Wow, to meet with you?
No, of course not. I'll be too busy playing tennis.
Right.
But no, I think this decision, this order by this I call him. I think his nickname is Jeb, not whatever his given name is. He's Jeb Boasberg. I mean, the guy is such an arrogant jackass. I mean, he misapplied, for example, in the January 6th things, saying January 6th prosecutions. He sat and presided, I think, over 70 trials where he allowed the inclusion of a corporate fraud statute. He prosecuted some of these people under a corporate fraud statute, which plainly did not apply. And he's you call it lawfare. And maybe that's the right term, but decades ago, literally decades ago, when I did this kind of stuff, offense, defense, hostile takeovers, and defenses, there are a whole bunch of settled cases and settled laws, stuff like this. There's no point in bringing it up other than to waste your client and the other side's money. You bring something like this up, and all it means is we're going to now go through an appeals process. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court, and Trump is going to win. But this judge knows he doesn't have a real case here. We clearly don't want a situation where, I don't know how many judges like him there are in the country, where any one of these people can at any moment in time wake up on a given day and say, I don't like what Trump is doing, or I don't like what Biden's doing, and I'm just going to basically govern the country until I get thrown out on appeal. There are serious negative consequences to this judge's behavior. And he needs to be, I don't know if it's impeached. I don't know if he can just simply be removed. But beyond being disciplined, he needs to be barred for life from acting in any capacity in the legal profession. That means not only can he not, have clients or teach law or whatever, he can't do what some do in the financial services industry. They don't act as brokers, but they become consultants on legal matters or financial matters. He shouldn't be allowed to do that. This motherfucker is the Democrat Party is prepared now to stand up and defend trendy Aragua hardened criminals. Right now, they don't want those people shipped out of the country. Instead, they want to import them into the country. And as Scott Jennings, the guy at CNN, who's, I think, though he's a Bush guy, he worked in the Bush White House, and I don't like him for that. He's very eloquent, very, very good on camera, and very sensible. And he calls these things 80-20 issues. 80% of Americans definitely want these hardened guys out of the country. And it might be more like 95%. So now this Boasberg jackass, he's probably got invitations now on MSNBC and CNN to speak, and he's probably getting speaking fees readied up across the campi. But he's destroying the Democrat Party with this bullshit, absolutely destroying it, making it very easy for every single conservative Republican, every important race coming up in 2025, there are some, but more in 2026 and certainly in 2028, This is going to be a rallying cry against the Democratic Party, and polling for these insane idiots is just imploding. I just saw the summary of a recent poll that support for the Democratic Party has declined since January 20th, 2025 by an astounding number of points. I forget the exact number. So these activist judges, many of whom have never balanced a checkbook legitimately. They probably have a spouse who's running a crooked NGO, or is working in the faculty at Georgetown or something like that. These are grifters off the taxpayer. That's what these people are. And instead of protecting criminal elements, like the cartels, like these crime people, the Democrats should be celebrating the quick capture and the export of these hardened criminals to that jail. And the video that this I call him a god on earth, the leader of El Salvador. I mean, when I began the process of thinking about leaving New York, one of the places I was thinking of getting a home was El Salvador, because it's an interesting climate and beaches and stuff like that. But then I read about the crime rates, and I said, no fucking way. This is a while ago. He has turned that country around. And the clear message this 2-minute and 38-second video sends is self-deport, because you don't want to end up in this jail. I don't think. You really don't. So if you're in the U.S. illegally, forget the bullshit out of Boasberg. Forget the bullshit out of Harvard Law School and Yale Law School and Larry Tribe and all these idiots. Get the fuck out of America before you are caught, and you can never come back. Yeah. Get out while the getting out is good.
Yeah,
and
I don't know that too many people are watching our show right now, but the message, I appreciate what you're saying. Charles, I don't know if you had picked up on this little detail, but this dude, Boasberg, he was a FISA judge.
Right. Exactly.
So look at this douchebag.
Yeah, well, there's, I've been saying for some time, and even I don't spend all my time thinking about the Clinton Foundation, but a lot of it, even I am shocked at what I'm appreciating now, because the Clintons are masters at hiding. That's what Hillary Clinton did, remember, in that summer for the Watergate Committee. She found a crucial precedent, realized there was only one copy of the book, it is alleged, and then stole the book and made it impossible for the other side to see this stuff, which would have actually helped the other side, and which the other side had a right to see. That's the way she likes to play. If there's damning evidence, hide it. And if people come close to bringing it up, arrange for them to be silenced one way or another.
Yeah,
that's what they've done.
This is standard lawfare stuff. One more quick thing, Charles, that we can really even just learn a lot about this guy from Wikipedia. His father worked for Lyndon Johnson and was Sergeant Trevor's Office of Economic Opportunity, a Great Society agency responsible for implementing many of these war on poverty programs. And he was in Skull and Bones at Yale and Oxford.
So he was a Rhodes Scholar, or the father? Was it Skull and Bones, or no?
Doesn't say whatever. No, he was in Skull and Bones. Oh my God! It says from 1986 to 1987, he was a history teacher and the women's basketball coach at the Horace Mann School.
You're kidding me?
No. Then he
must have gone there.
Law School, where he was a classmate of future Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Wow. Where did he go to college?
Well, he
was the women's
St. Albans School for high school.
St. Albans.
So after high school, he attended Yale, where he was a member of the undergraduate society Skull and Bones, and he graduated in 1985 with a BA, magna cum laude. Following year, he received a Master of Studies degree at St. Peter's College in Oxford. From 86 to 87, Boasberg was a history teacher and women's basketball coach at the Horace Mann School in New York City. He then attended Yale Law School, where he was a classmate of Kavanaugh.
That's very odd to do that, actually. When I went to Horace Mann, there were no women. But They came in the class of, I think the first graduating class of women was 1980. I may have that wrong. I think that's correct. My brother was in the class of 76, which was the last class to be male only. Um, so there were no women on campus until 77. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, um, yeah, this Boasberg and this track of having people go through the elite universities, spend some time in England being dirtied up, and then insinuate themselves into the deep state legal establishment. It shows you just how large the problem is. It's not as if there's just one Boasberg. There's tons of people like this. They're not only wearing robes. More importantly, they're running the machinery of the courts, running the machinery of the staffs of the House, the Senate, and on all these departments. So it's you have what is it called? The heart doctor stuff, arteriosclerosis, is it?
Yeah.
Hardening the arteries. That's what we have in our system. The founders never imagined that we would have so many amoral, not necessarily, just purely amoral or worse, like Hillary Clinton, psychopaths would actually get close to the levers of power and be in position to both protect criminals who should be prosecuted, and then on the other hand, prosecute innocent people who shouldn't even be touched.
Right.
That's how badly our system has been twisted.
Yeah.
And it's really horrible. But one hopeful sign, just before we started this, as I always do, I was patrolling and seeing things, and repeatedly the commercial that Trump has put up there, or somebody has put up on his Truth Social, is clearly targeting Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's a well done video that basically says justice is coming for Hillary Clinton. Now, you marry that up with these recent executive orders on law firms. First, it was Covington and Burling, then it was Perkins Coie, and now significantly it's Paul Weiss. Now, in New York City, in the business world, in the world of business and politics, Paul Weiss is one of those big ass firms, a really powerful firm. You deny Paul Weiss access and Covington Burling access to security cleared data, you really knife their businesses. Now, the one place that I feel really should be similarly knifed is Williams and Connolly. And there's a guy called Kim Eisler, who actually follows me, I follow him, who wrote a book on Williams and Connolly called, I think, Masters of the Game or something like that. He also, interestingly, wrote a book about Finley Cumble, which back when I was, a long time ago, Finley Cumble was this firm that came out of nowhere, and like a meteorite, it ultimately incinerated. The notion that Williams and Connolly might incinerate is an interesting notion because when you read this book, Williams and Connolly was not that powerful a firm prior to the Clintons getting involved with them. And they got involved, Williams and Connolly, by November, December 1992. So immediately after the election, Williams and Connolly was put in place to work with the Clintons. And they're in that book and in other books, they discuss how there were meetings in early 93, just around the time that Vince Foster died. There was a meeting with Williams and Connolly following a period where the Williams and Connolly partners had been thinking through how the Clintons might, over time, I would say, monetize their White House experience. So that's in early 93 or mid 93. And later, when Bill gets into huge trouble, they reach an arrangement to front legal expenses. They run up these gigantic bills, and then they represent Hillary Clinton and later Bill as well in these book deals using Bob Barnett. So, Bob Barnett and Williams and Connolly are really kingmakers for lots of people on both sides of the aisle and lots of journalists, both print, TV, and radio journalists. All of them, many prominent people use this Bob Barnett guy to get, I would argue, off-market book deals in most cases. So, and he even brags. Yeah, exactly. He even brags on that website there about, the approach that he basically runs a service to help politicians with their post-political careers. I mean, if that
like,
isn't
hey,
just
he's help me help you.
Who's Gilbert Gottfried? May he rest in peace.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that was it. And let's say in this hand,
it's Tom Cruise, isn't it? Help me help you.
Yeah, but
Jerry.
It's both. It's both. In that, and it's also Gilbert Gottfried. Let's say in one hand, I've got this. In the other
isn't
hand,
it obvious, though, Charles, that these law firms they've got these security clearances. They have access to information that they shouldn't. They use it. And by the way, this is just what we know about. See, we're talking about lawfare and these judges overreaching. There was an important article talking about how Stephen Miller had coordinated the, exfiltration or whatever you call it,
right,
the deportation of these guys directly with Kristi Noem, and that nobody knew what was going on. I think Stephen Miller did that because he understands how the courts work, and he understands that a lot of things that you do in court are important from a practical sense where, hey, if these guys are on a plane and they're in El Salvador and this judge is saying, hey, I order them to come back. Okay, but they're in El Salvador. You have no jurisdiction over that. How are you going to do that? So they just do these things in lawfare to just, prevent this person from running or winning this election or that. It's just about achieving whatever their political goal is.
Right. Well, these are armchair warriors. These are people who actually aren't in the fight, don't have the authority to tell the president to do anything in this area. And they've just decided, no. I'm back here on the ground in Washington, D.C. I have this hook on you and another hook on you, and I'm going to do this because I can do it. Fuck you. You're not going to do it. But let me just finish on Williams and Connolly. The reason I bring them up, beyond their central role in creating the Clinton charity fraud network and financing the Clinton family, beyond that, they're the firm that Perkins Coie hired to defend themselves against this executive order against Perkins Coie. So I would take it, I see you that, Williams and Connolly, and I raise you this. You've got an executive order. You've lost your... That's what I'd be doing next. Yeah.
So they're saying this sends chills down their spine, but Trump is going right for the mechanism that they're basically using to attack. Incidentally, look at this address, 1155, sort of a 66, which people tell me is a hidden 33. The other important thing we have to talk about before we go over to the sponsor segment, Charles, is Trump's speech at the DOJ, where he mentioned Norm Eisen by name.
And I love the fact that you tweeted back out that video. That was, I responded to your question on X. Yeah. I mean, I think that American people, across the spectrum, whether you're rich or poor, American people have encountered, and if you fly, you encounter it every time you fly, arrogant assholes with government badges, right? You see it every time you wait in a line to leave the country or you arrive in America. It's just horrible. And so the notion that a grown-up, having risked his life at least twice that we know about, having suffered billions of dollars of damage, is going to work for free and enlist other billionaires to work for free to make your life better, to have you pay less money in taxes, to have a more efficient government, to hold these criminals to account, and then that he would walk in to the belly of the beast with all these fucking assholes in the Department of Justice and just read them the Riot Act. And then the press availability, I don't know, was that at the Department of Justice where that idiot from NPR hit him with a mic?
I don't know, but Laura figured out who it was.
Yeah, and Trump, I mean, his giving her the stink eye after that was hilarious.
That was funny, yeah. But it's true, she could have put some poison on there. You can't do that. She's got to get kicked out.
Right, but that's the way the cool kids operated on the Ivy League campus, right? If you walk in there, when I was in 1974, when I arrived at Yale, it was fine to be a conservative. It wasn't like you get dissed because you were a conservative. Now I suspect if you in a classroom dare on an economics or political classroom, you're majoring in economics, you're majoring in politics at Yale, and you dare to agree with Trump, I would guess you'd fail.
Well, or no friends, I was going to say.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had a midterm in 1976. I'm contradicting myself, but on tax policy, design the perfect tax policy. So mine was, most revenue with the lowest rates. And the guy gave me a low grade. And I said, well, what are you talking about? No, you need to squeeze the electorate. You need, and then you could drop out of the class. So I dropped out of the class. But it was with no penalties.
To squeeze the electorate. Who is this guy?
I think that one of the books is a great, terrible name. It's something like Joseph Prickman. But I don't know if that was I forget the guy's name. But anyway, that NPR reporter and the network of people across the established legacy dying in established legacy media is repulsive, which is why actually it's a breath of fresh air, Jason. I don't know the last time you watched network television, but I'm to the point now where in all my travels since June 30th, 2023, the first thing I do when I get into a hotel room is I turn off the TV. Generally, they leave them on.
Oh, yeah.
First thing I do. I don't watch the free movies. I don't watch TV. I don't do any of that. And I don't care what they have to say. I really just don't care.
So Laura figured out that this girl is a negative Nancy from NPR who, she's literally like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Look at this girl hitting Trump in the face, all kinds of negative. Tonka, and she went private on her account.
As did Mark Elias.
Yeah, well, these people should be ashamed of themselves, They think they're so, I don't know, what? Oh, you asked before, there's 677 district court judges, Charles. They definitely didn't intend for each one of them to be a check against the executive.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it needs to be clarified. I think somebody was pointing out, I'm not an expert on this, but somebody was pointing out that Thomas Jefferson was very controversial. I like him, but he's very controversial. He fired a whole bunch of judges.
Yeah, he didn't like tyrannical judges. I think Larry Klayman likes Thomas Jefferson a lot for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, Jefferson was, the only book that Jefferson wrote is the history, something like the President's State of Virginia or something like that. And he lived a large life and actually died bankrupt.
That's terrible. Hey, what about this one, Charles, where the Sunday New York Times is telling us we were badly misled about an event that changed our lives? This is stuff that got YouTube channels of mine completely deleted. This is why it's important for people to sponsor the show, even if they only watch the free shows. If they want me to stick around, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com, patreon.com. We'll be there in just another minute. Charles, anything else you want to just discuss with people before we make our way over to the First Amendment Forum?
Well, I think the COVID suppression story is a story that we'll cover momentarily for paid subscribers. But I echo what you're saying. When you're a pioneer, you're out in the frontier, you're going to get things wrong. But you're going to see things before the rest of the crowd. And if you want to see those things and be at the forefront of learning, then you need to support this show.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. I see you and I slightly disagree on this because I don't know who this person is, but I think that we're learning more about this, but this is still only a small portion of the truth. We'll talk about it in depth. Thanks to everyone who is sponsoring the show. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be